Hey, baseball fan, my name is Dave from the Frontier League Journal. And today we are with the pitcher Lachlan Fontaine from Team Quebec. So we were just saying before I did not record the first version of this conversation. Lachlan Fontaine, you do have French roots.
Yeah, my dad's side is French Canadian, and he grew up speaking French in his house a little bit, and then obviously with the more English schools and all that, he's sort of switched to English, but he can still speak a bit of French for sure.
Well, I have a surprise for you. The interview today is going to be in French. Salut, Lachlan.
I can understand it. I don't think I could reply to it.
You'll be with Team Quebec. We'll talk about this in just a second, but you are in Seattle right now, and you were at the Mariners game yesterday. Talk to me about this, man, just being with people. I mean, how was the experience overall?
I mean, it was unreal just to be back at a baseball game in general, but even like a big league stadium, it was pretty insane. But I had my vaccine a couple weeks ago, and I'm going in for my second shot on May 7th. So I wasn't too worried about the crowds, and everyone was pretty spread out regardless. And the seats were really spread out. They had zip ties around all the other seats, so you couldn't even sit down if you tried. But yeah, it was unreal. I was just looking forward to walking in and seeing the field for the first time, and it was a pretty incredible sight. So it was kind of it wasn't too of an exciting game, but it was a good time.
At least you were at the park. God damn.
Exactly. Yeah.
Here in Quebec, I mean, we can't even go out after 8, so it's just sick. You were vaccinated. Did you have any after effects or side effects?
No. Just, I mean, your arm is just sore for a couple of days, but that's about it.
And if you can talk about this, is there any rules regarding you being on the team and vaccinated or not?
I believe that you have to be vaccinated to play this year, just because I don't think they can really afford to have guys go down with COVID and then shut the league down for 2 weeks. I mean, it just makes sense to vaccinate everyone and play the season with no worries. So,
okay, good.
I'm hoping all the other guys are. I'm pretty sure you have to be to play this year.
That would make sense.
Yeah.
Do you make your home right now or always in Seattle?
Do I what? Sorry.
Do you stay in Seattle all the time? Do you have your
No,
own?
I was in Vancouver for this whole pandemic since last. I've been in Vancouver since last March, and then I came down here on April 1st to train at Driveline. It's a pitching facility down here.
Yeah. Oh, I know. We'll talk about it. Did you read the MVP Machine by Ben Lindbergh and Scott? I forget his name. Did you read that, the MVP Machine?
No, I haven't.
Okay, it's about Trevor Bauer and him being at Driveline and just completely revamping his old mechanics, pretty much. But
yeah,
just before we talk about Team Quebec and Driveline, I've been reading about you. I mean, I think you eat, sleep, and just think about baseball all the time. You've had a ball in your hands for the longest time. Your dad was driving you to all these showcases, these tryouts. You were #1 prospect, I think, in 2013 at the Perfect Game tryouts over there. Is there something about being Canadian and trying to make it in this American game, a mentality that we have? Do you think that there's something to it because so many people talk about it?
I think that so I grew up playing hockey where like I had the mentality of like just every shift I was giving 110%, you know what I mean? Like it was, you didn't leave anything out there. So I think that sort of translates into baseball. For me, it was tough to translate that into being a position player just because it's such a long game. And if you strike out, you might have 30, 40 minutes till your next at bat. So you kind of have to process that for the next 30, 40 minutes. And that sort of wore on me quite a bit. So I think it really translates to the pitching side of baseball, just because if I'm going in for 1 inning of relief, I'm giving it everything I have and I'm leaving everything on the field. Whereas hitting, I did the same thing, but it was tough. If you have a tough game, like it's tough to bounce back from that and keep your head in the game for 3.5 hours sometimes.
Wow. You were taken by the Mariners in 2013 in the 13th round. How did you hear about that news? Where were you? What was your reaction? Was it anticipated?
I kind of knew I was going to get drafted. I didn't know which team or which round or anything like that. But I mean, at a certain point, like there was enough scouts around and there was enough people telling me that I was most likely going to get drafted. But I was actually driving to one of my high school games just on a Saturday or Sunday. We had a doubleheader, and I was kind of on Twitter looking at all the picks, and then my name popped up with the Mariners next to it in the 13th round, and I just showed my dad, and that was about it. Then we got to the game, and everyone said congratulations, and I played a doubleheader.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Is that the doubleheader that you played where you hit 11 RBIs and 3 home runs?
No, that was I don't think I did very well the day I got drafted. That was in grade 11 in our final four to go like to the championship.
Oh, okay.
So
Okay.
yeah, that was the previous year.
Yeah. Well, would you say that the Mariners are Vancouver's team instead of the Blue Jays?
For some people, I still think the Blue Jays are more predominant in Vancouver just because of the Vancouver Canadians, and
Oh, yeah.
I
Right.
mean they're Canada's team, right?
Hmm.
But when the Blue Jays play the Mariners, there's more Blue Jays fans in Seattle than there are Mariners fans
Okay.
because everyone goes down to the game.
That makes sense. And by the way, I just
Yeah.
want people to look at your caps, B45, the bat maker that we have in Quebec. That is just an amazing bat from what I hear.
And
Obviously,
gloves.
yeah, and gloves too.
Yeah, I got a glove. Yeah.
Oh, I had no idea. Well, I just wanted to shout them out. It did not go that well into the Seattle Mariners organization. What happened there? What was your experience overall?
I mean, the game just really speeds up, especially going from Canadian high school baseball to professional baseball, where there's a bunch of, I mean, professional players. Like just going from say 75 to 80 miles an hour in Canadian high school baseball to 95 to 97 every single night. The game speeds up, and it's pretty. If you don't slow the game down mentally, it's pretty hard to keep up with it, and it just kind of snowballs if you're having a tough game, and it's really hard to snap out of it just because it's not like you get to face a guy throwing 87 one night. Everyone's throwing over 92, 3 miles an hour at that time. So if you're struggling, it's tough to get out. It's tough to get out of it.
And for those who don't know, of course, you were drafted as a hitter, so a position
Yeah.
player. But now you're a pitcher. Have you always been? Have you always had that that not mentality, but that willingness to become a pitcher or even a two-way player?
Yeah. I actually pitched quite a bit in Little League. And then once I hit high school, just because I was bigger and I could hit, they kind of just, if you can hit, they kind of just skew to the hitting, and pitching just kind of falls by the side. But I've always loved pitching. I remember like my parents used to kind of make fun of me, or not make fun of me, but they would I used to just go through the pitching motion all the time. Like I would just do reps and reps and reps, even in our kitchen waiting for dinner. Like I would just be pitching, and even without a ball. So I always had that. Like I always loved pitching.
Mhm.
And even when I played on Quebec the last few years, like whenever Scal wanted me to go pitch, I was excited. Like that was my time. You know what I mean? So
Mhm.
I've yeah, I love pitching, and I'm definitely happy about the switch. It kind of gave me a new mentality about the game and a bit more motivation.
In 2018, Cal Tardy from Le Soleil, a newspaper in Quebec, interviewed you, and you mentioned that, you know what, I think that's over for me as a position player. I'm going to be a pitcher, and whenever Patrick thinks I should be pitching, I'll be pitching. Was it tough to just let that part of your career go? I mean, you've invested so many years into that thing.
Um, Honest, not the hitting side of it. I don't miss hitting just because I struggled quite a bit. And I mean, with all that failure, it's just it, it puts you in a really tough place mentally.
Mhm.
So I wasn't having much success. So baseball wasn't really fun for me. You know what I mean? Like, yes, it was amazing to be in Quebec and our team was winning and everyone was doing well. But for my personal career, I wasn't doing well. I still love being there, and I would love to play every year just to be around the guys and play in Quebec. And um, but yeah, it wasn't that tough for me to give it up. I do miss playing third base though. I miss playing defense, just making a nice play and throwing the ball across the field and getting that out. That's a really good feeling. The hitting side of it, I don't miss it too much.
Okay, that makes sense. What is it about Quebec? I mean, this is a great organization. Michel Laplante is such a classy guy. You have the Winnipeg Gold Eyes, who are also a classy operation. The St. Paul Saints, who are right now in the minor leagues. I mean, what makes Quebec a great place to play, and people want to play there?
Yeah, I think it's just the all ar I mean, it has the whole package, right? It has amazing fan base, like, the fans are unbelievable. They're in it every single game. It just brings your level of energy up a little bit. Scal's a great coach to play for. I mean, Michelle obviously runs a Class A organization. They treat you like royalty, like, we're probably treated the best in most of professional baseball. The city's beautiful. There's lots to do. I mean, the restaurants and stuff after a game, you can just go sit on Grande Allée and have dinner or whatever. I mean, it's just an all around. Everything's great. Yeah,
And the
I think there's
girls.
not much to complain about. Yeah,
And the
yeah,
girls, come on.
yeah, exactly.
I want to talk about a Team Quebec before we get maybe a bit more technical on the pitching side. Team Quebec, it was well, not funny. It was confrontational and clear in the press release that I think they did not do an English version, and they made a point at the end of the last paragraph to say we put the accent on the he, just to make sure that even though we will be on American soil playing against 13 American teams, we will not compromise. It's
Yep.
pretty much a us versus them mentality. I appreciate that. I'm not biased, even if I'm in Quebec, I'm not biased toward that team, but I love that attitude. Has there been any talk with Skal or all the other players about the way you have to be this season? You know what I mean?
Yeah. I've talked to Scal a few times now. I mean, we're always on the same page. I mean, even though he's from Quebec and I'm from British Columbia, we're both Canadian and we're both kind of invested in Quebec Capitals. Like, that's just, I mean, I think we've always had that mentality. It's us against them, and they're coming into our, well, not this year, but normally they come into our city, they come into Quebec, and it's different than playing it somewhere in the States where it's a small town and there's 50 fans. You got to deal with 3,000 great fans screaming at the other team. And but I mean, yeah, this year's definitely going to be different just because we're sort of combining the teams. So I mean, we have something to prove for sure, and I think we have a really good team, it looks like, this year. So I think it's going to be a good season.
And what's the plan right now? So where do you have to be and when to start the camp with Team Quebec?
uh we start on the 14th, 13th or 14th in Albany, New York. So I got to drive from Seattle to Albany on the 11th.
Whoa, that's a long
Yeah.
drive.
Yeah, I think it's about 42 hours.
Okay. And what will be your role this year? I mean, I think you've stepped up a lot on the pitching side. You've been at Driveline. We'll talk about this in a minute. Do you have a defined role right now in the pen?
We sort of talked briefly, and he just asked me how many pitches I'd been throwing, and I said sort of 20 to 25. So I think just like a late inning bullpen guy. In the previous years, I kind of had a few different roles. I tried out as a starter. My arm didn't really hold up that well just because it was the beginning of the season. I didn't really pitch that well. I've gone like 2 to 4 innings in the middle of a game sometimes. I pitched 1 inning. So um, yeah, I'd like to be like a late inning bullpen guy and someone he can trust. And my velocity's gone up quite a bit, so
Mhm.
I'm a bit different pitcher this year, I think.
And not only that, I mean, it brings us back to what you were saying. Playing hockey on every shift,
Mm-hmm.
doing and going 100%. I think
Mm-hmm.
you being a reliever instead of a starter might really be where you develop and at least become reliable.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think starting could be definitely something I could do in the future. I just need to sort of learn the ins and outs of pitching a bit better, and the mentality side of it. I did actually like being a starter just because you have a really set routine, right? You're pitching every fifth game. You have to throw a bullpen on the third day, and you know which days you need to take light and which days you can throw a bit more. As a bullpen guy, I mean, I love it, but it's a little bit tough when you don't know when you're going to pitch next,
Mhm.
and you could be throwing 3 days in a row, and then you couldn't. Maybe for a week you don't pitch. So there's definitely a lot to learn in both roles. But I think the bullpen side of it, just having that mindset of going in for one inning, giving it everything I got, and then if I have to go out for a second, great. But I'm going to give it everything I got for this one inning.
Most people, or most players right now who are in pro baseball, when they were in high school, they were playing both position players and they were also great pitchers. And then they kind of separate and then they just take their path. You have this different perspective when not too long ago, I mean, two years ago, you were a hitter. Do you think that's an advantage for you right now because you know what makes hitters stick and not taken away?
I think some aspects of it, yeah. I mean, I've seen it from both perspectives, right? A lot of guys that pitch now, I mean, some of them played positions in high school and all that, but it's a bit different when you're playing a position at a professional level than it is
Exactly.
in high school. So
Mhm.
I sort of have both perspectives, and even just being at third base and reading swings with my eyes, and you can tell what a hitter's flaw is, right? Like I've done tons of lessons with little kids, and even then, like just seeing thousands and thousands of swings, you can pick out guys' flaws and you can kind of try to expose those flaws. At third base, I mean, you have to be able to read the swing to make plays, because if you're just relying on your reaction, you're not going to be quick enough. You have to be able to read the swing, and if he's going to roll over, you can see that the bat's out in front, or just things like that.
Mm. I was talking to Chase Cunningham, the pitcher of the year in 2019 from the Southern Illinois Miners, and he mentioned to me something that resonated because he said uh, he was in the EBL, so the Australian Baseball League, in 2020, and he was a two-way player, so a hitter and a pitcher, of course.
Mm-hmm.
And he mentioned to me that he realized that he doesn't really have to beat the hitters. The hitters beat themselves. I mean, 7
Mm-hmm.
out of 10 times they fail. So instead of just always trying to nitpick and just be perfect, just
Yep.
I'll bring them the heat, and if they can't
Mm-hmm.
hit it, well, that's for them to just adjust. So I think
Yep.
that resonated for me.
For sure. I mean, there's definitely times to do both, right? There's times where you can just attack guys and go right after them, and there's times you kind of have to stick to the sides of the plates. But um, I I've actually been playing quite a bit of ping pong at the facility here, and my strategy in ping pong is I'm gonna let the other guy screw up. So he can
Oh,
spike it at me as many times as he wants. I'm just gonna deflect it back to him, and he's eventually gonna mess up. And
oh wow.
I mean, I've only lost a couple of games, but it just yeah, definitely you kind of have to read the situation, and sometimes they're going to get themselves out. You don't need to throw your nastiest stuff every time. Sometimes you can flip one in there when a guy's having a tough game, and he'll just roll it over. And because you gotta remember how hard hitting is, right? Like
Absolutely.
sometimes when those guys are 0 for 4 with 3 Ks and a ground out into double play, they don't want that fifth at bat,
Mm.
and you can kind of just see it in their body language a little bit. I mean, I've been there, so
Mhm.
you kind of know sometimes.
I love it. I mean, I love discussing these things. You're in Seattle right now. Driveline. Just for people who don't know Driveline, this is kind of not the first, but they kind of put tunneling and just different training techniques on the map. Can you present it better than I do right now?
Yeah, so I mean, the program itself is unbelievable. There's been a lot of people talking, just saying, "Oh, it doesn't work and it's dangerous and this and that," but a lot of those people don't have any real like clue of what it's actually like until they actually come to the facility and watch a day of training
Mhm.
and watch how. I mean, there's so many eyes and so much data and so much technology focused in on this training program that it like it's not dangerous, it's not any of that. But so for me, what I go through every day is pretty much like sorry, I'm just trying to think how to explain this the best. I mean,
Okay.
they have a lot of pitch design stuff too, so one thing that I've been doing is getting into the pitch design lab and throwing different sliders and uh using different grips, and they have like a slow motion camera that shows it from behind, and it can show the grip, and it shows how much spin the ball has and basically which pitch is better. I've been going into live at bats every Saturday, so I'll throw like 25 to 30 pitches and face the hitters that are at the facility. And then I do my weighted ball program every single day. So all the weighted ball stuff is basically, I mean, regardless of if you gain velocity, it's just great for your arm health. My arms never felt better in my life. And
Wow.
going from a position player to a pitcher, that's one thing that you need to have a strong arm, and you need to be able to last a full season. So I just think that this program is going to allow me to do that and just stay healthy the whole season. It's never, I don't know if you've ever pitched as a position player, but
No. Oh
when you
yeah.
pitch for the first time, the next day your whole back and arm is completely knotted up, and that's just completely gone away.
It's weird because baseball is a very conservative sport. I mean, in a way, it's cool because it's traditional. I mean, people can relate to it, but in a way, it's also very close-minded to some new
Mhm,
strategies or
mhm.
technologies. The, you being you going you're going through it right now. Do you feel like everybody should at least be exposed to the techniques that they're trying to make people learn? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, there's obviously some things out there that aren't going to be the best for the game, and there's a lot of people trying different things and trying new things. But the thing with Driveline is it's established, right? It's been proven that it does work, and guys come here. A lot of my roommates came here throwing 80 to 82, and now they're sitting 85 to 87,
Wow.
and that's in a few months, right? That's
Yeah.
just hooking you up to the motion capture with all the little sensors and showing you your deficiencies in your mechanics right away, and then fixing those throughout the next few months.
Hmm.
I do think that it's important to evolve with the game, right? If you're so old school that you can't understand that the game's evolving, then you're just going to be stuck in the past, and the game's going to move on without you. So you need to constantly evolve with the game and learn the new technology and learn the new drills that hitters are using and pitchers are using, and at least have some understanding of it before you say that, oh, it doesn't work or it's bad for you, right?
Nice. I have two questions into one, and I don't even know if you can answer this. Um, are there players that go there that don't have to pay because they want to use them as showcase? And if you've had to pay, can you tell us how much is it?
So I don't know if there's anyone that goes there for free as like a test study. I know Shohei Ohtani was here for a bit
Oh.
in before the season, so I mean, I don't know if he had to pay, but if I'd hope not, just because he's Shohei
Yeah.
Ohtani and it looks good for Driveline to have him here.
Yeah,
Um, I pay 400 for the in-gym training, but the assessment at the beginning is a bit more expensive. I think it's around 1,500 because I was doing the online training first.
mhm.
But I mean, at the end of the day, it's an investment, right? You need to
Of course.
invest in yourself if you want to. Like for me, I still want to play in the major leagues, and I still believe I can do that. So it's more of an investment than it is. That's sort of the way you have to look at it. But
Okay.
there's ways of getting it. Like there's a couple of the guys that work at the facility, so they'll do like the shipping stuff. They'll ship out the plow balls, or they'll run some of the data stuff. That I think Driveline helps you out with the training cost if you work for them as well.
That's great. I was talking to Brandon Bingle, and I don't know if you know about the sidearm delivery.
Mhm.
Um, um, have you tried it? Because he mentioned something to me that stick, but then again, I don't think there are studies about it. But he said that the more you throw over the shoulder, the worse it is for your arm. So the more you go low, the better it can be for the long-term health. Have you tried sidearm delivery?
I mean, I used to play like I mean, I played all the infield positions, and you always use a sidearm throw. Like I can throw from any arm slot, but I can't throw it hard from that arm slot.
Okay.
I think each pitcher, like if you were just to take somebody and put them on the mound and see their first throw, I think that's going to be their most natural way of pitching, right?
Mhm.
Taking a guy that's straight over the top and trying to make him a sidearm pitcher, I don't think that's the best way to do it personally. For me, I was always really on top of the ball because when I got a backhand at third, I had to throw it as hard as I could across the field.
Mhm.
And the best way for me to do that is throw it right over the top.
Okay.
Some guys, their natural go-to is a sidearm and they can throw it 95 like that. For me, I can't do that. And I feel like I would tear something if I tried to just throw 95 sidearm. For me, over the top feels great, and I have zero arm trouble. Knock on wood.
Yeah, and that's what that's what I didn't say, that if every guy has his own just feeling and natural slot, and I do know
Yep.
that, but I mean, I don't know if somebody is trying, and I mean, if even if it's 2 miles per hour less, I mean, and if you can just keep your arm just longer, it might be. Anyway, I was just talking.
If let's put it this way, if I was in like a minor league organization and they asked me, we want you to throw sidearm, then I would say absolutely. But for now, I think it's
Oh,
best for my career to go over the top.
okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I want to finish by speaking about your arsenal. What it was a year and a half ago or 2 years ago, and what it is now. So what people can expect, and what are you excited or working on?
So the last few years, so my first year pitching, I threw a four-seam fastball, a changeup that wasn't very good, and a pretty good curveball and a pretty good slider. Um, and I had some success my first year in 2018. I had 31 innings, I think, and I did pretty well. Came back the next year, my arm kind of got a bit longer. I was still throwing four seams, but it wasn't, I was kind of getting hit a lot more. Curveball was kind of there sometimes, sometimes it wasn't. So my pitching coach, Carl, showed me this one seam grip. I don't know if I have a baseball here, but basically you
Oh,
just hold it on one seam and you're not really touching the seam. So it's more of a sinker. So I
okay.
started throwing sinkers and I got a ton of ground balls and I really liked that pitch. But then as soon as as soon as I started doing the Driveline program and throwing on a Rapsodo where it shows you all the spin in that, they basically told me that a sinker won't play well for me just because my four seam fastball spins so much.
Hmm.
So they want me throwing just four seam fastballs, and then I work a curveball off that, and then I've been working on a slider. Sorry.
Can you tell us the velocities and your spin rates?
Yeah. So my four seam, I pitched on Saturday. It was about my last warm up pitch was 96, and then I was kind of sitting 94 to 95 for the first couple of guys.
Wow.
And my spin on my fastball is anywhere from 26 to 2,900 RPMs, which is really high.
Mhm.
My curveball has been 28 to 3,100. And then my slider's about the same, around 3,000.
This is very good. Very, very good.
Yeah. Yeah. My spin is what's going to get me, is what's going to play regardless of velocity. I mean, throwing 95 is great, but I can spin the ball. So my off speed's going to be my go-to pitches a little bit.
That's amazing. You did something on Saturday where people were sending you questions. So you said, I mean, I'll answer all your questions. You did a live streaming of your session. Am I putting you on the spot if I invite people to throw questions at you if they do have questions?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect.
If I can't answer it, I'll find someone who can, but yeah, I'll definitely answer any questions that anyone's got for me.
Well, there you go. Lachlan, thank you so much for taking the time, man. I don't want to get sentimental at all, but I am from Quebec. I am from Canada. It is difficult up here right now. It is
Yep.
nothing like the US. People who are listening to this have to understand this is a
Oh
very
yeah.
tough situation right now here.
Yeah.
Your sacrifice, I know it's your passion and it's one of your jobs, but your sacrifice to maybe go out of the country for 5 months. I mean, Scalabrini maybe won't be seeing his family for 5 months is if the border is not open on July 23rd. I'm having goosebumps just thinking about it. This is insane. This is a personal sacrifice. And I want you to know that we do appreciate it right up here. And even if I pretty much I root for all of the Frontier League, but I have a special spot obviously for the for Team Quebec. So please have a great season and let's keep in touch, man. I'd love to do this again.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Cool.
absolutely. Thank you so much for having me on.